speaker. That's what I'll test. Is that?
Can't hear you. No. Hold it.
I'll just hold this then if that's going to work. Can you hear me now?
Yay.
Go ahead. Hi there. My name is John Shavluk. First off, I'd like to thank the Delta Chamber of Commerce, the Surrey Now, the Fraser Valley University, and the Delta Lions Club just for allowing us to do this. And then I'd like to thank all of you just for being here and showing that you have an interest in the politics of our community. They call me Shrek. Some of you may have seen me before. This is my 4th consecutive provincial election. I wasn't here last time. I was supporting Matthew Lake of the Greens because I had made it a point of running against Opal and Delta South. And if you noticed a month ago, the #1 issue that I raised there, I'm an ex-military veteran. We had an argument, him and I, about the unified police force that he was against. A month ago, he was at his big press conference calling for what? A unified police force, because I reminded him that the police said that 28 women would not have been killed by Willie Pickton had we had one. That's from the police themselves. I'm from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I've been out here 20 years, over 10 years here in Delta. I was in Richmond East, my first election in 2001, when I started a thing called the Marijuana Party with a couple of 78 other people when we set a record trying to stand up and make a difference. But I'm an ex-Revenue Canada department head, an ex-real estate broker for an AP Freeze real estate people. I was in banking. I'm currently a Marine bailiff. I was on the executive of all of these parties and currently on the federal Liberal executive. I'm running as an independent because all of these people running for these parties to get their nominations have to swear allegiance to the party, not you. I'm one of us. I just did the Cat Baloo this morning. If you saw that old Western, I pull in a trunk every 4 years, clean myself up, and come out and try to reach you. There's pamphlets outside. The #1 thing for me is it stop? Sorry. The key thing that I would bring into our community is compassion, truth, honesty. And it's because of how I entered into this arena. But I'm going to just continue making these different points. I was Guy Jenner's opponent for his nomination. I was the Green candidate attacked by Harper. The suit Elizabeth May and won, so they changed Canada's libel laws. And I asked you to just take a flyer or just go to SHAVLUK.com to see what else I do at. But I'm a military veteran, and I'll just keep adding points as I remember them here. But I'm just one of us. And I'm asking you to look beyond the color of a party this election and realize that we need somebody that represents us, not somebody else that's not going to be effective representing us in a party. Yes, I would. I believe in the death penalty for premeditated murder or murder one. As I said, I was bringing these things to Wally Opal's attention. I wonder if you people understand that we spend more of the justice system in this country, or actually equal to what we spend to defend our country. I'm sorry, I spent 4 years suing Elizabeth May and went through the appeals trial. It's a mess, our justice system. And until you people take back your power and actually have somebody that represents you, not a color, or somebody that's in Victorian, ask the leader, I give you my word that my word means something. Important part. You know, we just don't have enough time to go through all this. Obviously, I would try to do something, but you have to understand I'm the guy that warned everybody what was coming over the last few elections. I'm an ex-banker, I'm an ex-real estate broker. I told people, imagine if you had to pay interest on your mortgage right now. I can tell you right now, there'd be so many foreclosures right now. I watched Harper pump $150 billion, even while Peru into CMHC. We didn't escape the disaster, and they're using your tax dollars to keep these fat bankers in there. But of course, something has to be done. I've preached for 20 years as an ex-Revenue Canada and a department head about the need for a flat tax. The only reason we don't have it is because of all of the people that make their money trying to pretend that there's some mystery in the tax system. But one person can make make a difference. It's a BC Harper Party kind of room. I will, with all due respect, and I'm not trying to be funny, obviously. I'm part of the federal Liberals. I don't consider the BC Liberals Liberals. But for somebody to tell me that the party that's running the biggest deficits we've ever had in our entire history, or somebody that doesn't live in the area is going to, all these different things I would love to talk about. But as the person that's built million-dollar companies and spent 20 years trying to tell you that wouldn't you rather that you make more money than Hell's Angels and taxing wages of people that provide jobs, isn't that kind of stupid? But you have to elect somebody that's going to stand up for you. Just imagine right now if we were Washington and Colorado. Do you know that they're booming because they stopped putting their teenagers in jail for a joint they're going to use it anyway, even if you arm the police like the military? Have you seen it go down? They try to tell you it's schizophrenia related. I'm trying to tell you it actually treats schizophrenia. I'm sorry. We have lots of money. Well, I thought I started talking about the debts and all these things here, but I'm sorry, we're paying $3 billion. I'll talk again, meaning I get away with it. We're spending $3 billion just on interest on this money that they say is good debt. How much good debt have you got? You know, house prices, I was trying to warn people they're going to start falling because it's a joke and even the government's pumping money to hide this. We did have this banking problem. Debt is debt. And if we're paying $3 billion in interest, that's a lot of money that could go to sick people, to the elderly, to the pharmaceuticals. It takes somebody actually knowing the issue, standing up for the people. It's talking about a party versus talking about your own representative. You'll see the difference. You know, it's all tied to the federal government. If you remember when they did this and basically screwed us by allowing pharmaceutical companies to not have, you know, we could have generic drugs and all these different things. People decide these things. And these parties are usually beholden in this province. Any corporation, pharmaceutical company can give the Liberal Party $1 million. I can tell you how we can save $800,000 though right away and maybe put it to the schools. You know, that's what it's going to cost you if you elect one of these two from City Council. To replace them at Delta early cost you $800,000. Well, if they don't win, we just save $800,000.
Fighting the preservation of the bog land.
Obviously, I'm a member of the Stopping Any More Erosion of the Birdsbog. I've been involved, as I said, I was Guy Jenners. I'm going in for the NDP nomination. I was the Green candidate, so obviously I would completely stop. I would never allow another acre to be taken. But that's, again, just the tip of the iceberg of the whole thing here. We're living under a party philosophy. And just a little footnote before one of these flags comes up. I just want to remind all of you people that the Coast Guard thing, safe injection sites, all these other things that the province is whining to the federal government, guess what? Those are federal issues too. So when your kid is going to jail for a joint, you don't have 20 grand to save it, and they tell you it's a federal issue, they're lying.
It's true.
To responsibly mitigate any of the impacts.
Well, I won't approve it at all. You think there's jobs in that? There's lots of jobs in the cancer that it'll create too. I'm sorry, nobody's using. We're trying to get China to stop using coal. Let's put a little bit of money. We got the most powerful river in this country rolling by. The technology exists to make us self-sufficient in electricity if we just tell these guys to spend their money. And you're shaking your head at me, sir, but I'm going to stand here. I get 1 minute. I get a half an hour every 4 years to try to reach my neighbors, and I don't care. If check me out, you find that BS in there or whatever, call me. I'm right here. Bottom line is this doesn't help anybody. It's going to third world countries to poison them, just like when we send our computers over there to kill kids that do it in fires. Somebody's got to stand up and stop the stuff.
Thank you.
to start talking faster. First off, don't call it an oil pipeline. That's not anywhere near oil. And if this is about jobs, you think you get more jobs by trucking it or piping it? And I have to remind you people that 5 years ago, I told you all that I want to see Eastern Canada get a pipeline before anybody else. We already spend $3 billion a year just so Americans can drive cheaper than you. I ask that that party gets corporation donations. There's more jobs if we allow truckers just to take this thing, and if we get an oil spill, it's one truck. I hate to use that word oil because it's not. The poisons that come out of that pipeline, if it bursts, have nothing to do with the oil. I'm beat away from my turn. Well, thank you. I'm against fracking because I pay attention to what's going on, but I'm not against liquid gas. I'm the fellow that's been trying to tell you about a company called Fuel Makers, which was Canadian technology. You can cut CO2 emissions instantly by 20 to 30% of it, as I've been telling you the last 2 federal elections. Harper allowed the technology to go to Japan. There's 11 million natural gas vehicles on the road right now with 30% less CO2. We could fill up at home for 70 cents a liter. Just again, go to SHAVLUK.com. The parties are not representing your interests, they're representing corporate or somebody else.
Would the candidates please outline their position on the installation of waste-to-energy mass burn incinerators in Delta?
I'm sorry, is it my belief in them or if I would support it? Well, it saves us a lot of money in transporting these things, especially when they're talking about taking these things into the interior and all the rest of these things. The technology does exist right now for proper carbon filtration. And I'm sorry, my whole marine, I was a green guy, my whole marine is built out of recycled materials. I don't know anybody more fiscally conservative than I am, and that's just a plus, a win-win. If I applaud Vancouver for the recycling efforts that we need, probably Canada, but of course, it's just going to save us all money if we all just take charge of our own mess. So I would support it, and the technology is there for it to be safe as far as I'm concerned.
I would be all for taking a look and reviewing the workers' compensation rules the way they stand.
I agree. The workers are the backbone of this province. I'm not, as I said, I was NDP. I know who's actually doing these things, but what we need is a provincial ombudsman that actually has the teeth to do things. And what I'm trying to explain to people that the parties took over our political power in 1974. There's nothing in our charter or anywhere else that allows them to steal your power. Now people vote for a color. They would love it if you just remembered one letter. And then they bid to see who controls all these guys that do get the nomination. The system that we have, people talk about proportional representation. What's more proportional than 85 independents getting together and 50 will get together to make sure that no workers are screwed, or 30 will get together to make sure we're not polluting our children like's been going on when a party answers to a company. Yeah, they all want to increase immigration, don't they? But anyway, as a first-generation immigrant, I actually would just remove the roadblocks and let the right people come in. And in the old days, they used to have organizations that sponsored people to bring them over and had a little bit more respect for the abilities of some of these people. But I would get out of the way. Government pretends that they manage the economy. No, what they do is screw it up usually by not thinking through things. The best thing they can do, the best people to manage the economy are the corporations and businesses and the people actually doing that. But somebody has to stand up with the right state of mind and common sense policies where we stop bringing in doctors that aren't allowed to practice. We got to stop training teachers when the country has supposedly 15% too many. These are decisions that have to be made rather than going, oh, we can't upset those tenured people, whatever. That takes somebody that actually cares. And the
slate clean.
I spent 20 years trying to explain to you people that the reason that people are growing pot in their house and not their tomatoes is because every 38 seconds some teenager gets a criminal record. And I got to remind all of you that jail's just the beginning. If you knew my story, you'd know why I was doing this. And I'm going to take the time. In Saskatchewan, I was a real estate broker, and I had native tenants, and I didn't know that, well, there's 500 women missing there. Nobody cares because they're all native. But I stuck up for my tenants who told me, and this is pre-Stonechild case, that they were being left in a town to freeze to death. And I didn't realize the way Saskatoon was as a first-generation Canadian after my whole family was killed by Stalin's Holodomor. I grew up listening to the stories of my grandfather as a first-generation immigrant Ukrainian. I always stuck up for people, and I can't stand bullies. So if you want to end this crap with these grow-ups and the bikers running around with more money than you, I just brought legalization to 3 parties after others tried. Oh, sorry. And again, obviously, I just want to keep stressing that 1 minute is nowhere near enough time. But let's just all remember how schools were invented. There was only one book in the village. I'm the guy that's been trying to get us online voting. If we could go to jail for something we did on there and pay our taxes and our bills. You know why you can't vote online? Because you would. And kids, there's no problem with sharing the teacher. The kid can do most of his work online. What's the matter with the child going to the school for support? We have to start making the hard choices unless everybody wants to pay more taxes. My daughter teaches high school English, and my only daughter. I know the issues of the schools, but like it's reds and yellow, I'm okay. Sorry. Anyway, I would love to be able to explain all the different ideas and things that I've talked about here. So all I ask is you take a flyer and look at SHAVLUK.com, and I'm easy to get a hold of. I look like a relic down by the river for the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Here's a question from another young person. Will your party make any alterations to post-secondary funding? If so, what will they be? John.
Well, I don't have a party, but I've spent 20 years trying to get what I call the common sense party. I know that if we were running this country, the whole country would be healthier, probably a lot richer, and a lot less corruption. As I said, our justice system extends as much as the military. Now, to be honest with you, again, we don't have a lot of time to be able to lay this all out, but I'm the type that would make the hard choices. As I explained to you, how schools were invented because there was only one book. There's many, many ways to save money if you make those hard choices. We've got tenured teachers that it doesn't matter if they can't teach, they're going to have their job, and the costs are just going to go higher and higher and higher. You got universities, like there's a degree in Madonna right now. I believe in skills training and wellness, and I saw the flag. Thank you.
Centralize the federal medical marijuana access regulations program.
Gee, that's a tough one. I guess I would disobey my party and actually stand up and say something. Because as soon as they leave, they all start telling you, hey, I didn't mean to jail all your kids. Now I'm for it. I'm not the Attorney General anymore. Look at all these ex-Attorney Generals that now know how bad it was to do that. I would stand up and change these things, whether you like it or not. And as I've tried to tell you for 20 years, if you keep ignoring the issue, it's still going to be there. If you listen, supposedly we have the highest concentration of users in the world. Well, guess what? They're voters. The richest men on the planet are also users. You don't have to use it because it's legal, but nobody's going to get a gun and get $4,000 a pound for something like, make tomatoes illegal. See if you got a tomato problem, because I like tomatoes too. In our party, we had preschool teachers. It was nothing to do with the use of drugs. I'm an ex-military veteran. I've been at this for a long time. The drugs are going to be there whether you take charge of this or not. But in the meantime, people are paying with their lives. And this province could be like Colorado and Washington, actually booming if we actually think. Sorry. And last but not least, I had to speak first, so now I'm just going to take a breath and enjoy this, because no disrespect to any of you, my fellow neighbors, but after beating my head on the wall for 20 years, I promised my dear wife that if again I'm just a joke in the elections because everybody votes for a color, that I'm going to quit. I've tried to tell you the truth about everything here. I'd like to thank the honorable sponsors. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. As you know, 4 of us were screwed even telling you on Delta Cable what our platforms are. Delta Cable had the debate on TV on April 11th, 15 days before the nominations even closed, because they don't like me telling you that Ritalin is the same as crystal meth. Read my pamphlet, call me, check me out. I've been doing this a long time. But as I said, if I'm still ineffective in reaching people and getting you to take back your power that was stolen from you by these parties with no laws to do it, then I have to give up on you. And I'm sorry to say I don't want to, but I don't know what else to do. I ask you to look at SHAVLUK.com, check me out. My mom was Canada's first licensed female bailiff, and she raised 5 kids by herself after being left in a body cast with a broken back, and she taught us all one thing: if your word's no good, neither are you. And what I've seen from the NDP and what I've seen from the Liberals, I'm sorry. To me, their word's no good. And the first thing I would do is find out how we could pay $6 million to 2 lawyers, or to lawyers for 2 guys that pled guilty. And that's only yellow, not red. I've got some time. I'll disappear again at the end of this thing, and I won't be back in 4 years to tell you what they're doing to your kids. Thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry. We were talking about legal marijuana. That's what the lady was trying to get. It's not about legal drugs. The medical, legal people need help, and it should be covered under pharmacare.
Thank you again, everybody. Really appreciate your attendance, your participation. You're one of the kindest audiences that I've had the chance to moderate, so I really appreciate that.